Our subject today is to help you understand why you are here on Earth, so that you can free yourself from compulsory future incarnations. Reincarnation is not compulsory unless you make it so. Life is a vast school. There is a lesson to be learned in everything. But just as naughty boys in school engage in mischief, try to distract the other children, and then fail to graduate and have to take the same class again, so it is with most people. They are bad boys in the school of life, always getting into trouble because they don't listen to the teacher. Life is teaching you all the time. You are a bad student if you don't pay attention. Think about that. It is the sum of what I want to tell you. Preparing for your next incarnation. Extracts from lectures by Paramahansa Yogananda in 1944. Bad boys who fail their exams have to return again and again in shame to confront the same lessons. Good students, however, develop into wise men. Christ, Krishna, Buddha, and all the enlightened ones finished their training, graduated with honors, and went back to God. They don't have to come to the school of life anymore, unless of their own free will they return again as teachers, saviors, to help others. Reincarnation means that you did not finish your schooling. You have yet to pass in all the grades of physical, mental, and spiritual unfoldment, which will earn for you a diploma of perfection and freedom. What is the cause of failure? Understanding why we are here. Primarily, we do not understand why we are here. Most people think life is just for acquiring necessities and wants, seeking pleasure and human love, and surrendering at last to the grave. Human beings start life programmed with set tendencies and unfulfilled desires from the past. Then, with their little remaining free will, they imitate each other's desires and actions. If they associate with businessmen, they want to be like them. If they are with artists, art becomes everything. God meant us to be practical in this world. He has given us hunger that has to be satisfied, but to go after only food and shelter, money and possessions is to forget the true source of happiness. Satisfy your needs, pursue your worthwhile goals in life, but give yourself to God first. Your schooling will then come under His wise and loving tutelage. He knows all your stored up karma and what is best for you. Don't resist Him. Unfulfilled desires are the root cause of reincarnation. You don't have to be a king in order to have complete fulfillment, nor do you end desires by giving up everything and becoming a poor man. You have your own self-created destiny with its lessons to be learned, and you must play well, that part for which you were sent here. If everybody on the stage wants to be a king or a queen, there will be no play. An actor with even a minor part can ruin the entire production by a poor performance. Every role is important. Everyone should interact harmoniously for the success of the play. The Lord has been trying to make a good drama out of His creation, but I am afraid that most actors have bungled it. The ideal is to do your best, but be objective, non-attached. Pay attention to the studies life places before you. They contain the lessons you must learn. Don't play at random and create new desires, endless desires. The Hindu scriptures say that it takes about 8 million incarnations, progressing upward on the scale of evolution, before one becomes a human being. And now, after gaining a human form, how can you waste so much time on things that are fruitless? Time is so precious. At long last, your soul has a vehicle capable of the full expression of divinity, of manifesting the image of God in which you are made. Every morning, ask yourself, what do I want? Nothing, nothing but you, Lord. If you want to take me from this world now, I'm ready to go. That is the right attitude. But it is not easy to hold on to it because 1,000 temptations will come in your path to see if you have finished your desires. Once when talking to Amelita Galli-Curci, the famous operatic prima donna, who had such an angelic voice, I asked her, "Have you finished your desires?" She replied, "Of course." I continued about other things, and then suddenly asked her, "What are your feelings about music?" "I love it," she said. "I want to sing in heaven." "Then you will have to come back to earth again," I replied. "That desire is not finished." Then she understood. When I started on the path to God, my family tried to interest me in other things. An important position was offered to me, and I prayed to God for guidance. He said, "What do you want with it? Go after supreme happiness first." My cousin, Prabhas Chandra Ghosh, got my job and also my wife-to-be. Through God's grace, I was free. If you keep your mind with God, you will be free. When desires come, be guided by wisdom, not by whim or stubbornness. If you can control your senses and keep your mind with God, you will be free. But if, on the last day, when the time comes to go to the Heavenly Father, the angels say, "Do you like strawberry shortcake?" and you answer, "Oh, yum, yum," they will tell you, then you have to go back to America. Or they may ask, "Do you like curry?" "Yes, Lord." Then go back to India. You can't stay with the Father because your earthly desires are not finished. The divine man enjoys everything, but is not bound by anything. He appreciates the use of the objects in God's creation. But when he is through with them, he is through. Do not harbor traces of desires. Live in this world working only to fulfill God's will. Tell him, "I did not ask for this body, but you gave it to me. So I will look after it and see to its needs and use it as an instrument to serve your will on earth." When you are impersonal with the body in this way, you become personal with God. I want you all to get to that state, but it will not come by reading books, nor if you fritter away your time in diversions. Meditate. Be steeped in meditation. This morning I hardly remembered sleeping last night. and when I lifted my eyes upwards, they became fixed in the state of samadhi. The world, like an ocean, was moving in me. I felt the whole universe throbbing within myself. Learn the lesson that you are not a man nor a woman, but a soul made in the image of God. Otherwise, God will have to send you here again and again until you outgrow your ignorance and realize your true self. Become so conscious of God that you know He is the only reality. The more you meditate, the more that thought will be paramount. Try as it may, the world will not be able to take that consciousness away from you. When I started my search for God, I shunned everything that took my mind from Him, as though it were poison to me. I even avoided too much contact with people who were not of like mind because I did not want to be influenced by them. Milk will not float on water, it will mix and become diluted. But when milk is turned into butter, the butter can float on water. Similarly, as a serious seeker, make firm your consciousness in God. Free yourself first. Then no one will be able to exert any wrong influence on you. You will change them. Otherwise, if your will is weak and somebody suggests some nice temptation to you, you will run after it. But when you are convinced that true happiness is within yourself, in your relationship with God, then nobody can pull you away from that. Others will instead follow your example. God is for all who seek Him. Give your nights to Him. The days belong to the devil, because he keeps us busy and embroiled in the relativities and delusion of this existence. But if you give your nights to God and strive in the daytime to remember Him in the midst of your activities, you will be drunk with Him all the time. The divine man is always intoxicated with the Lord. Work doesn't take my consciousness away from Him. It is the greatest pleasure. I have hardly even been sleeping these days. I feel the greatest joy, the greatest blessing of God I ever had. That is what I live for, to be with Him and to work out His wishes. On these two things, my life revolves. Fulfilling your duties to God and man. Even a materialistic man who is constructively busy is better than an idle spiritual man. To be lazy and give no earthly service is to be forsaken by God and man. But those who fulfill their duty to man, but not to God, are like the mule that carries a bag of gold on its back, knowing only its weight and not its worth. Actions without the thought of God are both burdensome and binding. Actions performed with the consciousness of God are freeing. Renunciation of material duties to serve only God is all right, because it is to Him we owe our first allegiance. No duty could be performed without the power borrowed from Him. The Lord forgives whatever sins accrue from the non-performance of lesser duties by those who forsake all else for Him. Renunciation means to put God first, whether one follows the path of the world or the path of monasticism. My brother said to me, "Money first, God later." He died before he had a chance to find God or to use his money. Remember the words of Christ. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. When you find God, everything comes to you. When he takes hold of you, you can never fall. Your mistakes will be righted. Your errors will be transformed into wisdom. That is what I have found. The right attitude towards suffering. There are two kinds of seekers, those who are like the baby monkey and those who are like the kitten. The baby monkey clings to the mother, but when she jumps, it may fall off. The little kitten is carried about by the mother cat, content wherever she places it. The kitten has complete trust in its mother. I am more like that. I give all responsibility to the Divine Mother, but to maintain that attitude takes great will. Under all circumstances, health or sickness, riches or poverty, sunshine or gray clouds, your feeling must remain unruffled. Even when you are in the coal bin of suffering, you don't wonder why the mother placed you there. You have faith that she knows best. Sometimes an apparent disaster turns into a blessing for you. When the Golden Lotus Temple went, I at first thought it was a terrible catastrophe, but it turned out otherwise, because it made me go on to find other temples and ashram centers. Gloom is but the shade of Divine Mother's hand outstretched caressingly. Don't forget that. Sometimes, when the mother is going to caress you, a shadow is caused by her hand before it touches you. So when trouble comes, don't think that she is punishing you. Her hand overshadowing you holds some blessing as it reaches out to bring you nearer to her. Suffering is a good teacher to those who are quick and willing to learn from it, but it becomes a tyrant to those who resist and resent. Suffering can teach us almost everything. Its lessons urge us to develop discrimination, self-control, non-attachment, morality, and transcendent spiritual consciousness. For example, a stomach ache tells us not to eat too much and to watch what we eat. The pain from loss of possessions or loved ones reminds us of the temporal nature of all things in this world of delusion. The consequences of wrong actions impel us to exercise discrimination. Why not learn through wisdom? Then you won't subject yourself to unnecessary painful discipline from the hard taskmaster of suffering. Finding the divine love behind human love. There is suffering inherent even in the satisfaction derived from human love. Devoid of the quality of divine love, human affection is a blind alley that entangles and limits us. I realized this when my mother was taken away by death. How disillusioned millions of people have been who taught human love was the only thing to live for. They were fooled, and thereby did themselves a great injustice. Where are all those they loved and lost? What is the lesson to be learned? It is to love the love behind human love. Who is your father or mother but the divine Father-Mother who has taken human form to love and care for you? Why doesn't someone else's father feel for you in the same way as your own? Because the divine took a personal interest in you and planted that paternal feeling in a particular being to whom you were karmically attracted. God also became the mother to love you unconditionally. Hers is a blind love unless it is imbued with divine consciousness. The Father's love is more tempered with reason and law. The Bible teaches, "Honor thy father and thy mother," but it further commands, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might." When I say father or mother, these words have an absolutely different meaning for me now. I have realized the father-mother behind my parents. That's someone else who was loving me through their parental love. If you remembered all the mothers and fathers you have had through incarnations, you would not know which ones to love as your own. You think of your present home as where you belong. But if you were to die and be born next door to your former parents, they would not love you in the same way as they did before. Who loves you but God? It is He whom you must seek. I once had a vision in which I realized it was the Mother Divine, who had taken the forms of my mothers in many lifetimes to love and guide me. Now, in every woman, I behold the motherly quality of the Divine Mother. Thus, should we learn to see the mother behind all mothers, the father behind all fathers, and the friend behind all friends. Friendship, the purest form of love. Friendship is the purest form of God's love because it is born of the heart's free choice and is not imposed upon us by familial instinct. Ideal friends never part. Nothing can sever their fraternal relationship. I have never lost a true friend, even though two to whom I gave sincere love became inimical. I am still a friend to them. To be a true, unconditional friend, your love must be anchored in God's love. Your life with God is the inspiration behind true divine friendship with all. True friends bring mutual progress to one another. The guru-disciple relationship is the highest expression of friendship, for it is based on unconditional divine love and wisdom. It is the loftiest and most sacred of all relationships. Christ and his disciples were all one in spirit, as are my master Swami Sri Yukteswar and I, and those who are in tune with me because of the common bond of God's divine love. Drinking his love together from the chalice of sincere hearts is the unifying sacrament of this relationship. In human friendship, familiarity should be avoided. Or after a little while, friends may take advantage of each other. But in divine friendship, there is ever-increasing respect. Each one thinks only of the highest welfare of the other. That is the nature of the divine friendship between guru and disciple. One who partakes of this relationship is on the way to wisdom and freedom. Whenever I speak to others, as in these services, one form appears before me. My Guru, His influence is paramount in my life. Even now, though he is no longer on this earth plane, he is always with me. Spiritual ideals for fulfilling marriage. If you seek the one friend behind all friends, true friendship can be established in all of your relationships, familial, fraternal, marital, and spiritual. Friendship is vital in a marital relationship. Sex alone will not bring a couple closer together. In fact, it will all too soon throw them apart if the higher instinct of true love and friendship is not predominant. When sex is made the most important part of marriage, the couples lose interest in one another when the initial blush of sensual gratification pales. Those who do not discriminate between true love and sense attractions are disillusioned again and again. People who want to marry should first have to learn to control their emotions. Two people placed together in the arena of marriage without this training battle worse than opponents in a world war. Wars, at least, come to an end after a time, but some marital partners engage in combat throughout life. You would think that in a civilized society, people should know how to get along, but few have learned this art. A marriage should be nurtured on high ideals and the wine of God's inspiration. Then it will be a happy and mutually beneficial union. Once in Boston, I was invited to speak at the silver wedding anniversary celebration of a supposedly ideally happy couple. The moment I entered their home, I felt something was wrong. I asked two trusted students to quietly observe the couple throughout the evening. They told me that when the husband and wife came before others, they smiled and addressed each other sweetly. "Yes, my dear, of course, my dear." But when they thought they were alone in the kitchen or pantry, they fought like anything. So I talked with them. "Why do you behave like this? I feel great inharmony in this home. There is a lot of iron in this silver wedding." At first they were offended, but I pursued the matter. "What do you gain by fighting all the time?" I gave them a good talking to. They approached me later and asked my forgiveness. I told them, "You stay together just because of your reputation as an ideal couple, but I want you to truly live that way for your own happiness." One's ideals should be lived in behavior, thought, and speech. If two people come together and their moods are wrong, they become insincere with each other. When deception creeps in, the marriage is on the rocks. Why this hypocrisy? Such mistakes should be prevented from the very beginning. Balancing feminine and masculine qualities. It seems there has always been a rivalry between man and woman, but they are equals. Neither one is superior. Be proud of what you are in this life. You are a soul that has been in both male and female bodies in different past incarnations. If you are a woman now and you envy men, you will have to reincarnate as a man. And take heed, if you are a man now and feel superior to women, you may have to be born as a woman. Man argues that woman is emotional and cannot reason, and woman complains that man cannot feel. Both are incorrect. woman can reason, but feeling is uppermost in her nature, and man can feel, but in him reason is predominant. The ideal is to balance reason and feeling in one's nature. Those who are too womanish do not find soul freedom, and neither do those who are too mannish. Each sex should strive toward a balance by learning from one another through friendship and understanding. In the great saints, we see combined the ideal masculine and feminine qualities. Jesus was like that. So were all the masters. When you have attained what perfect reason feeling equilibrium, you will have learned one of the major lessons for which you were sent here. Life is meant for God realization. Don't live in a one-sided materialistic way. Have self-control. Master all of your senses. Act with wisdom. Conquer life. And find freedom. The average lifespan is 70 years old of schooling. When death comes, you will not have finished your education and will have to come back to this school again, unless you have found God and acquired all His wisdom and expressed all His blessings in your life. Start in earnest on this path of learning. From the beginning, saturate yourself with God. Love Him more than His gifts. He has everything except your love. He created us, that perchance we would use His gift of free will to seek Him. The only reason we are here is to find God and go back to Him. Love God first and make your body a temple of God. Do everything with the thought of Him. Go after the supreme happiness and share Him with others. Perfect your love in God's love and include all humanity in your love. If you have children, train them in the right ideals to help bring them back to God. Every one of you has tremendous work to do. Convert others to God by your spiritual example. To help others find God is the highest gift you can give. So remember, God first. Start today, not tomorrow. If thy hand offends thee, cut it off. You need willpower and right guidance to succeed. Exercise your will guided by your Guru's wisdom, and you will overcome all impediments in your path. Free yourself from the school of troubles. Don't expect perfection or permanent happiness here. You will not find it. This world will always be full of troubles. Why be interested in the school of discipline? Finish your lessons for good, that you may not be sent here again and again against your will. Free yourself from this school. Conquer all. Live for God, work for Him, think and will for Him. Body, mind, soul, will, senses, everything must be with God. Then you will be free and ready for the journey home. And you won't have to come back to the troubles and difficulties and wars of this world. When your schooling is done and the end comes and people are crying at your passing, you can rejoice and say, "Beloved one, Master Death is opening for me the gate to freedom. I have had enough schooling now. I shall be a pillar in thy temple and shall go no more out, unless you will me to do so. If you wish it, I will come again and again to help free others. My incarnation is voluntary. I have finished my schooling, but I don't want to go back to God until others have been freed. As long as there will be a brother weeping by the wayside, I shall come to wipe away his tears and take him with me to God. Many people hurt and destroy themselves through ignorance and wrong desires. I have come to help them, to teach them, and to take them with me to that infinite shore from which there is no compulsory returning. It is wonderful to learn all of life's lessons and then teach others how to finish theirs. Then, when the last day comes, there is no fear or regret. As the dying divine youth said, "Don't cry for me, ye who are left on this desolate shore, still to mourn and deplore. It is I whom pity you. My beloved comes in the dazzling chariot of death to take me away to the kingdom of deathlessness, to the palace of bliss dreams. Oh, dear ones, rejoice in my joy." Excerpts from the book Journey to Self-Realization by Paramahansa Yogananda.